Greetings, lords and ladies. Welcome back to You Can't Handle the Facts. Today we're taking a jolly jaunt back to medieval Europe, a time of knights in shining armor, grand castles, and some truly bizarre and hilarious daily habits. So, polish your helmets and let's dive into the quirkiest and funniest aspects of the Middle Ages. First up, let's talk about the grand castles. Sure, they look majestic from the outside, but living in one wasn't all that glamorous. These stone fortresses were drafty, damp, and often infested with rats. Imagine trying to sleep while rats are having a party in your bed. Speaking of bedrooms, did you know that people in the Middle Ages often slept in communal beds? Entire families, including servants, would share one big bed to stay warm during the cold nights. Even travelers who had just met would share the same bed. Privacy? Forget about it. Imagine trying to get a good night's sleep with your entire household snoring around you. And if you think their sleeping habits were strange, wait till you hear about their medical practices. Got a headache? Just apply some leeches to your forehead. Feeling a bit under the weather? How about a nice hot cup of boiled worm stew? Medieval doctors had some truly innovative treatments. Now, let's talk about personal hygiene. Bathing was the luxury reserved for the wealthy, and even they bathed only a few times a year. For the common folk, it was a yearly affair, if that. Instead of soap, they used things like ashes and clay. And for brushing teeth, chewing on sticks or rough cloth was the way to go. Now let's discuss the grand feasts and banquets. You might think they dined like royalty, but even the noble meals had their quirks. A popular dish was frumenty, a kind of porridge made from boiled wheat, often flavored with meat, eggs, or fish. Tasty, right? And let's not forget lamprey pie, made from a type of jawless fish. Bon appetit. Public health? Practically non-existent. Streets doubled as sewers, with waste thrown out of windows into the streets below. That's right, a simple walk could turn into an obstacle course, dodging refuse and trying not to get hit by the occasional chamber pot surprise. And speaking of waste, let's dive into the fascinating world of medieval outhouses, also known as privy chambers or garderobes. These were the predecessors to modern toilets, and were essentially openings that led into a latrine or castle moat below. Often located in private alcoves of a fort, these facilities were designed primarily with function in mind. Fashion in the Middle Ages was also unique. Men wore tight, brightly colored leggings, and women wore layers upon layers of heavy fabric. And those pointy shoes? The longer the point, the more fashionable you were. They were so long, they had to be tied to the knees to walk properly. Fashion over function, folks. Now, the food. Spices were rare and expensive, so most dishes were bland and overcooked. And for dessert, they sometimes served pies filled with live birds. That's right, you'd cut into your pie and bam, instant bird release. It's like a medieval prank show. But the real fun began at the medieval fairs and festivals. These events were the highlight of the year, featuring bizarre games and competitions. One popular game was the pig chase, where blindfolded participants tried to catch a greased pig. Sounds easy, right? Think again. And let's not forget about the knights and their chivalrous deeds. Jousting tournaments were the medieval equivalent of extreme sports. Knights in heavy armor charging at each other with lances, all for the honor of winning a favor from a noble lady. Talk about taking one for the team. Speaking of knights, let's not forget their quest for the Holy Grail. Legends say they went on epic adventures, facing dragons and mystical creatures. But in reality, it was more like a bunch of guys getting lost in the woods and arguing over who had the best map. Spoiler alert, none of them did. So, there you have it, folks. Medieval Europe might have been a time of knights and castles, but it was also a time of some pretty quirky and hilarious habits. Next time you complain about modern inconveniences, just remember how far we've come. Thanks for joining us on this merry journey through history. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more facts you can't handle.